Now, earlier this week, I laid out some reasons why Donald Trump, despite Republicans claiming that they do, does not actually have a mandate. Now, it turns out that when I did that segment, most of America came out and agreed. Now, I'm looking at a new poll here from Washington Post Schar School poll that points out that nearly 60% of Americans believe that Donald Trump and the Republicans do not have a mandate to carry out all of their different policy proposals. However, the American people just think that they should instead compromise with Democrats, even when Democrats are staunchly opposed to their policy positions. Oh, that's amazing. So most of America says, hey, we know we gave you the majority, but you need to listen to the Democrats because they're right too. There are policy positions where they are right on, and I expect you to reach out to them and work with them. That's what we want. We want stuff to get done. Now, 29% of voters. That's less. That's less, much less than the amount of people that voted for Donald Trump, by the way, said that this election gave Trump and the Republicans a mandate to carry out their agenda. Now, in that same video, I pointed out how, look, Barack Obama was the last president to have a mandate when he won by over 5 million votes and crushed the Electoral College. Now, that was 2012 and 2008. He won by enormous margins and therefore had a mandate. And that's not according to me. That's according to Americans. According to a 2008 Washington Post poll, over half of all Americans said, yes, you do have a mandate, Barack Obama. We elected you to do the things that you talked about. We gave you a majority. So go get to it. Hope and change, man. Hope and change. Now, unfortunately, it didn't seem to work out that way, okay? We ended up getting bailouts for the banks and Romney Care on a national level. Now, why? Well, it's because Democrats didn't take their mandate. They didn't see it as a mandate. No, instead, they did things like scrap the public option. And why'd they do that? Well, Republicans were immediately like, no, we're not signing off on anything. No health care whatsoever. You also had blue dog Democrats like Joe Manchin that were saying things like, no, you need to scrap the public option. And here's Barack Obama saying, you got it, bud. We're going to drop the public option and reach out to not only Republicans to get Republican votes, but to appease the corporate Democrats. You were given a mandate to do a public option along with Obamacare, but you didn't do it. And by the way, I'm going to let you know, Obamacare got 0 Republican votes. None whatsoever. Fucking dick. That's what they got. Obama reached out his hand, and they're like, you know what? No, fuck you. I'm going to slap you in the face. And that's exactly what happened. And we didn't get a public option, which would have been a superior way to go and would have eventually led to a Medicare for all system, which is more efficient, more cost efficient, and incredibly popular. Just ask anyone on Medicare. They'll tell you, yeah, I love my healthcare. Because it works. Because I'm covered. I don't have to worry about expensive out-of-pocket costs. Now, look, there are still some problems with Medicare, but that's something that can be fixed. For example, being able to bargain with drug companies for more cost-efficient, cheaper alternatives to mainstream drugs. Or to be able to import drugs from other countries that are cheaper. You could do that. Negotiate with these drug companies. But we're not doing that, and that's one of the problems with Medicare that we have right now. We didn't give the government the power to negotiate drug prices. That's an issue, right? And that would be an issue even with a Medicare for all system until we actually get the balls to say, hey, government, do your job and go, and we're going to give you this power to go and negotiate prices so that we don't get screwed by greed. But anyway, as I said, we got screwed on that option, even though Barack Obama had a mandate and said, I'm going to reach out to Republicans, I'm going to reach out to corporatist Democrats. And as I said, they got slapped in the fucking face. Now, I wonder, since Republicans believe that they have a mandate, you think they're going to reach out to Democrats? You think? If you think that's going to happen, you don't know politics. In fact, they're already planning to repeal Obamacare and do massive Medicare and Medicaid cuts. They're going to block grant Medicaid to the states. You know what that means? Here's some money. Do whatever you want with it. You can put it into Medicare or Medicaid or not. You could use it to plug your budget hole. We don't care. We're just going to give you a block grant of money. Here you go. And do whatever. Well, most states under Republican leadership, especially because we have they have 37 state governments. Look, this is why Republicans always want to go to block granting. Oh, leave it to the states, leave it to the states, leave it to the states. Well, you know why? It's because Republicans win on a state level. They control almost all state legislatures. Yeah, of course they want to send it to the states. Because that's on their side. It's beneficial to them and their policy priorities. No shit. So that's what they want to do. Now, by doing that, by the way, they're actually literally going against the will of the people. So, hey, Republicans that claim that they represent regular people, yeah, well done. Good job. You're doing completely the opposite of what the American people voted you in to do. Well done. Well done. And look, let's be real about this for a minute. Republicans and Democrats, you know they're going to work together on some issues. And what are the issues that I'm talking about? Tax cuts for the rich. Of course. That's one of their main goals that Democrats and Republicans can always get together on. Oh, yes. The rich pay too much in taxes. We need to give them a tax cut. We need to give corporations another tax cut. I agree completely. I remember it was Barack Obama that made 97%. Well, it was at 96, 97% of all the Bush tax cuts permanent. So they love giving tax cuts. Now, the Democrats will say, hey, man, let's give the middle class a tax cut along with it. And the Republicans will agree as long as they get tax cuts for the rich. Now, if you introduce a middle class tax cut, Republicans, that's the one tax cut that Republicans really don't like. No. You can't give the middle class a tax cut without giving a tax cut to the rich. That's the only way we're going to get things done here. And Democrats are like, you twisted my arm. All right, fine. We'll give you tax cuts for the rich. That's the only thing, as I said, they agree on. But do you not get it already? The Republican Party doesn't care about what you think. You vote them into office, and they're going to screw you in order to enrich their donors. The 0.1%, the corporations. And I'm not saying the Democrats are better. Well, actually, they are. But on issues like tax cuts, as I just pointed out, no, they both work for the same people. But while doing so, giving tax cuts to rich people, the Democrats will throw you a bone and say, here's some health insurance reform, and we do want to take care of some of the poor people. So they're better on that regard. And look, now, because the Republicans won the Electoral College, now they're saying, we got a mandate. We must do everything that we want because we were told by the American people that, you know, they want us to do Medicare cuts. They want to cut Social Security. They want to cut all these different things. No, that's not what the American people are saying. And look, you know that they've been counting ballots all week since Donald Trump won. You know what's happened? Hillary Clinton has taken the lead in the popular vote by over 1 million votes so far. 1 million. And there are still ballots left to go from places like California. No, tell me you got a mandate. You ain't got no mandate. You fucking kidding? No, American people have spoken. They have spoken. Yeah. You know what they said? They said we wanted Hillary Clinton by over 1 million votes. You don't get to claim a mandate when you lose. When you lose the popular vote. Yes, they won the Electoral College. And look, there's a lot of people out there. Every 4 years, every election cycle, there's a lot of people that come up and say, hey, the Electoral College is bullshit. It is bunk. It overturns the will of the people. And this is another election. Like the last election that overturned the will of the people was in 2000 when Al Gore won the popular vote. It seems to be benefiting Republicans a lot. I wonder if people would be calling for the elimination of the Electoral College, especially Republicans that are now gung-ho defending it, had Donald Trump, had the situation been reversed, had Donald Trump won more of the popular vote, but lost the Electoral College, and we had Hillary Clinton as the president. Interesting. And look, I could say the same thing about liberals. Hey, where were you protesting the Electoral College earlier on? And maybe you were, and I don't know. If you were, I'll give you credit for being consistent, man. As for me, I do believe that we should have one person, one vote. And look, there's a reason we have an Electoral College, by the way. It's because it was a compromise with the slave states that had fewer populations. That had a lower population than the city centers. And they're like, no. We need something to make sure that the larger areas with more people don't have as much representation as I do. Well, that kind of flies in the face of one person, one vote. So, and I'm in favor of one person, one vote. But anyway. Now, as I said, Trump's only president because of the Electoral College, which essentially overturned the will of a majority of the population. Now, there is a little bit of irony in this that I've got to point out. Remember, back during the primary, I was very critical about the role of the superdelegates in the Democratic Party. Because, look, their whole reason to exist is to overturn the will of the people. If a candidate gets more of the popular vote during the primary, the superdelegates could line up on the other side and say, no, we're not going to allow this person to become our nominee. Ironic. Because look, the superdelegates in a lot of cases did overrule the will of the people to support Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. And now Hillary Clinton got a taste of how that feels. Again, I cannot help but point that out. It's almost like karma. But again, this doesn't mean I'm happy about this, right? Because we have Donald Trump and we have a Republican Congress. And now we're going to have a Republican Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I'm talking to you. You better find the fountain of youth. Because boy, we're going to need you for the next 4 years. Hold on, Ruth. Hold on. You better stay alive. We need you. Now, there's something else in this poll where the American people and I disagree on, and that's the issue of optimism. Now, most Americans polled are actually optimistic about a Trump presidency. I can assume they weren't paying attention. More than 6 in 10 say that they expect major changes during the Trump administration. Well, you're probably going to get that. While a slightly smaller majority say that they are somewhat or very confident that the economy will improve under Donald Trump, and 52% think living standards will increase during his term. Now, those are optimistic positions, right? I'm assuming that they're saying, well, these changes that are going to happen, they're going to be positive. Well, no, not always. Yes, there is some change can be positive. There's also change that can be very negative. And I tend to err on the side of, it's Trump, it's going to not be good change. Buckle up. Now, let me ask you, when was the last Republican elected that helped anyone but the ultra-rich? Again, I'm not saying that Obama didn't also help the super-rich. However, you gotta admit, the guy tossed us a bone, and he wasn't a bad president. And then, of course, since 2010, from 2010 on, he had unprecedented obstruction. You had Mitch McConnell coming out there and saying, the number one priority here is to make Barack Obama a one-term president. Not helping the American people, not doing anything about anything, just block, 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 block. Again, going back to my point of, they're not going to reach out to Democrats. It's not going to happen. Unless it has something to do with helping the rich. Now, this last piece of the poll, I'm sorry, hold on. I also want to point out what happened during the last Republican president, right? That was George W. Bush. Now, George W. Bush led us into the worst recession since the Great Depression. And he also launched us into two unfunded wars, which Obama had continued. That ended up costing us trillions and trillions of dollars and running up the debt and deficit. And it also helped create ISIS. Well done. Well done, Republicans. Well done, Obama, for continuing that. Now, this last piece of the poll. Now, this is interesting. Now, nearly 9 in 10 respondents say they have been dissatisfied with the country in recent years. And 8 in 10 say large-scale changes are needed to set the nation on a right course. Now, I agree with both of those. That's why you heard me during the primary screaming, the American people want change. The American people want change. Yes, absolutely. That's why I voted for change in the Democratic primary in the form of Bernie Sanders. That's also why Hillary Clinton was so unappealing to progressives as well as independents. Overwhelmingly, progressives, independents, millennials, younger people went towards Bernie Sanders because he represents change. What she represented was the status quo. No change establishment, steady as we go. Rich get richer, everything else kind of stays the same. And look what happened. The voters overwhelmingly decided to throw a brick through the window of the establishment. And they broke that glass. It wasn't the glass ceiling that broke. It was the glass window. Now, here's the thing, right? That's kind of why we need to avoid labeling all Trump supporters as racist. Is there a chunk of them that are? Yeah, no doubt. Of course. And at the very least, they did show that the type of rhetoric espoused by them was acceptable in some fashion. That racist rhetoric, right? Now, I think that was unacceptable, the type of stuff that Donald Trump said. Still, these people, I'm not going to discount them completely because they send a message. We're tired of business as usual. That makes me believe that Bernie Sanders would have had a much better shot at winning. You had a right-wing populist message versus a left-wing populist message. Trump's message is, everything's fucked up, blame the immigrants. Blame the Muslims. Blame the political establishment, right? You had a left-wing populist message that said, yes, the establishment has done us wrong. So let's lay out a vision of hope, right? Let's change things. Let's get things for the better. Instead of figuring out who to blame and laying all of that, I've got a plan. I've got a way to make things better. Here it is. And he spent hours and hours on the stump detailing that plan and setting it all up. And when you put a right-wing populist message of hate versus a left-wing populist message of hope, well, that hopeful vision always tends to win out. And that's what we didn't get with Hillary Clinton, especially in places like the Rust Belt, who, by the way, are hurting. They are hurting economically. And look, there was racism, xenophobia, that was involved. A lot of fear involved. There were also economic issues. People that are trying to distill both the winning of Donald Trump into one of two things. I see two types of people. Those who are blaming it specifically on the racism and sexism, and those specifically blaming it on the economic conditions. I don't think either of you are right. It's a mixture. It's complicated. And it involves complicated solutions to fix all of those problems. And complicated and complex visions of the future. That's what I think. But now these people, as I said, they threw a brick, right? And now they're saying, now that we've thrown that brick, we've got your attention. Now we want you to work with the other side and actually do something. Provide some actual change. Something that's going to help us. You don't have a mandate, Republicans. Your job is to serve us, not the donors. We put you in power not so that you could take over and do everything that you want to do and run roughshod of the other side, which is what they're going to do. But no, we wanted you. We elected you so that you could actually work together and do things and pass good legislation, not continuously obstruct everything. The message was pretty loud and clear. However, unfortunately, I doubt the Republicans in Washington were going to get that message. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.